Hello, welcome to Concession Impressions, the podcast where we watch a film and then we review it immediately after. Today, we are back to our origin. We are at the Hollywood Universal City Walk AMC Theater, and we're in the parking lot, so forgive us for
any bad sound.
cars. Normally we drive to like an abandoned
Wasteland.
little something, so it's a little bit less quiet. But today we're in the heat of all the Universal goers.
There are tons of things happening.
Yep, just like this film. Today we watched Amsterdam.
Or as I like to call it, Amsterdam.
Was he kind of like an Amsterdam, this movie's good, or Amsterdam, this movie sucks? What do you think, Chase?
It's more of an Amsterdam. I wish this movie would end,
It was really long. I mean, it's like almost 2.5 hours.
I hate to say this, but I checked my phone 3 times.
Yeah, I wanted to check my phone too. So, which is sad because it has a great cast. It has Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris Rock, Anna Taylor-Joy, just to name a few.
And it's an Oscar-winning director, Oscar-winning cinematographer. Like, everything about this should be good, and it just didn't meet the measure for me.
That's sad. I was kind of looking forward to this one as well.
I mean, the cast alone, these are like basically all of the most awarded and lauded actors of the last 5 years. And then Taylor Swift.
Yeah. On top of that, though, I just want to throw out that I thought it was really funny that they kind of some of the big names from like each category. Like you have like Christian Bale and like these kind of more
Christian Bale, JD Washington, Denzel Washington's son.
I think that's what people call him. Yeah,
Denzel
I think that's what he
son.
goes by. I'm Denzel Washington's son.
Margot Robbie, and then Robert De Niro. Well, and also what's that guy's name?
He looks like my brother.
Yeah, Michael Shannon and Rami Malek and Anya Taylor-Joy are all like dramatic actors and genre actors. And then and Zoe Saldana as well.
And then you have Chris Rock and Mike Myers who are like
comedians.
Big comedians. Yeah. And then you have Taylor Swift, who's like a huge musician.
Pop
and you
star,
have and you have all these famous people from different parts of the entertainment industry. Maybe be it drama, comedy, music, but all of them together none of them really kind of
felt like they were utilized fully.
And I will say that I don't think it's their fault.
I don't think it's their fault. I think they were giving it as much as they possibly could.
Yeah.
I think it was an abysmally structured story.
Yeah.
With a really weird idiosyncratic dialogue. And like the scenes were like terribly structured in my opinion as well. There was no tension whatsoever.
Yeah. There was at no point in the film did I feel
engaged.
Tense. The only scene I thought this was going to be the second movie in the last few years that was going to be Robert De Niro getting assassinated while he was talking.
Could be, yeah, almost.
That happened. That's right. Is that also Robert De Niro was in Joker, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought that was going to be the thing, but I guess that's kind of a spoiler that he doesn't die. That he doesn't die. He doesn't get assassinated. So,
I will say Taylor Swift's death was very funny.
Wait. Talking about structure, Chase.
Sorry.
All right.
Should we give a see it or not see it?
Yeah. Also, we were able to see this film almost 2 weeks prior to its official release.
Yes.
So, by the time we upload this, it's going to be about a week before it officially releases. But we were able to see it about 2 weeks before.
The Q&A.
Yeah. We also had an interesting Q&A session. So I kind of want to give a see it, don't see it. But I also, part of me, what do you think about not super treading into super spoilers? I don't know. I actually don't really care about this film. Never mind. I take back all the last 30 seconds of what I just said.
I think let's rip it to shreds because it needs to be.
Sure.
If we're not going to do it, then somebody else will.
See it, don't see it.
Let's do it. Don't waste your time. It's 2.5 hours long and it feels like 6.
Yeah, I feel like if someone puts out on YouTube a clips of just some of the best parts of the film, or even some of maybe the trailer kind of has some of the best parts, maybe I think some of the jokes and a few there's a sprinkle of like a few very good lines or some funny jokes that are maybe, and I think it's because of the talent in the movie itself, because he even says in the Q&A that they have a script but then they did some that was just like improv, and I have a feeling that the improv or those best scenes were maybe from those times where those actors
I think a
their own
lot
stuff.
of this movie was improv.
That would
That's
make
what
sense.
it feels like to me.
It definitely feels like it. So my
In a bad
review
way.
would be also don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there it is. We both say don't see it. Now let's jump into the spoiler section and let's rip this movie to shred.
Yes.
Amsterdam. All right. So you were saying.
I think actually what is the most frustrating aspect of this movie for me is I think there is a lot of good little moments that could have added up to something.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, for whatever reason, all the best parts of this movie got like left on the editing. It's so wild to me that you have this trio at the front of the film,
mm-hmm.
and they don't ever talk about their relationship, hardly ever. I mean, they spend a whole lot of time agonizing over it, but they never show anything. They never develop it at all. It's just this like mysterious Amsterdam.
Yeah. So to go off that point, it follows Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David Washington's characters, who all met through World War One. So they formed a bond when they're in their time in the hospital, and
during World War One.
And then it jumps, or it kind of, then the main part of the story takes place later, where they are reached out by Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift comes to them to solve a murder of
her father, who was their previous not general, but like leader of their regiment.
Military stuff.
Yeah.
And the movie ensues. It kind of picks up like a lot of these little like, oh, interview this person, check out this person, they might have information. And it kind of follows these characters going talk to all these kind of big names throughout.
Yeah. I mean, the central kind of concept is this is a murder mystery.
Yes.
With a political underpinnings.
Yeah.
It almost avoids being that the entire time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
for these like weird little small character moments with these like random actors.
Yeah, who doesn't really like,
and these just like
add up to anything. And I also feel
flatly delivered lines.
Yeah,
the delivery of all of the lines was so flat and monotone and weird for the vast majority of the film.
Yeah, I will say that there's two things that I found. One is just the worst part of the film for me, and then one thing that I caught, I wanted to see if you caught. So let me go for the worst part first. The worst part of the movie was when they go to visit Robert De Niro, who was just doing nothing. They just go in there, oh, we want you to do this. And then his line literally was, I'm going to do this. And then he goes downstairs and talks to the guy. And then he's just like happens to get him to explain the entire bad guy story.
That happens several times throughout the movie.
Yeah, but that scene particularly, like just because like Robert De Niro was just like, oh, okay. And then he just like repeats it as if like the audience doesn't understand it. But he just like says everything again, like, oh, okay, you want me to then go in front of everyone and then tell them this master plan. And then he like winks almost at everyone. It's like, haha, I understand. I'm just doing what I'm told. Like he doesn't do, his importance as a character like was nothing. Like he was just there as a name.
He was a plot device.
That was the worst part of the film.
Yeah.
But really quickly, before you say other things, because I know you want to say other things, did you notice in the scenes after that, they're in the theater and Rami Malek is giving a speech about the drops?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice the like weird stitching?
Weird stitching where?
They stitched two shots together in the same angle, but I think they had the same shot, and you'll see, I noticed his mouth transforms, like they were meshing in the two shots together.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It totally threw me off. If you do watch this film, and near the end, when they're in the theater, Rami Malek is giving a speech, not a speech, but he's talking to Robert De Niro and Christian Bale. There's a moment where while he's talking, you can notice his mouth warps while he's giving his speech.
You know what I bet happened? Is they did an improv scene and they tried to stitch a couple different moments to build a better scene than they had.
I mean, probably this they did, but it was like super noticeable because it was like the same exact framing and everything, but the only thing was just like his mouth was just warping all over the place.
That might have been at the point that I was just kind of checked out.
I mean, probably
towards the end, I really just was like, I already know what this movie is trying to do. I already can tell you what the ending is.
Yeah.
Especially like the part, there's so much frustrating about this movie. Even the fact that in the Q&A interview section, David O. Russell was like, it's like literary and it's told like a novel or something, said something along those lines. And I sort of understand what he's trying to say, but that's not how you translate like the internal thoughts of characters, is I think what he was trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
And also kind of the meandering way in which the story moves. And maybe the cast, the like wide variety cast of characters, I don't know. It's just, this movie is so disappointing on multiple levels. And like, you could dissect almost every aspect of this movie, from the themes, from the different subjects that they bring up. Even like the like random aside that Margot Robbie's character is like a Dada artist. Like, she just represents Dadaism as like a concept almost.
Yeah.
It's just like so random. And it's actually not that random for World War One leading into World War Two. That was the Dada era. But it's not applied properly in this movie at all.
Yeah.
Just every bit of this movie frustrates me.
I also wasn't a big fan of, I feel like the cinematography felt similar to like Wes Anderson, where it had a lot of those, I forget what the shot's called specifically, but it's something that Wes Anderson likes to do to make the audience feel uncomfortable by like having the shot be directly as if it's like a POV from your eyes looking into the person talking.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like a head-on shot.
Like a shot that's just straight at the actor and the actor's like talking right into the camera pretty much.
I actually felt about midway through, like this whole movie felt like bad Wes Anderson like fan fiction.
Yeah, it was Wes Anderson without all the fun parts.
It's Wes Anderson without the style, without the idiosyncratic dialogue that is actually very colorful and intelligent.
Yeah.
It's less intelligent Wes Anderson.
And yeah, I think it kind of felt like that. I think that's a good analogy actually, because they like overused a lot of that same shot where it just felt weird, and a lot of the shots kind of felt weird. Definitely not winning an Oscar or something, because even the Q&A, he called out like, oh, this might win an Oscar for best cinematography.
I mean, this is Emmanuel Lubezki, and he is an amazing cinematographer. But I think part of the problem is probably some of the cinematography issues are pandemic constraints.
Yeah.
Because they did clearly shoot all of this on sound stages.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Emmanuel Lubezki is the guy who shot The Revenant and is very well known for these like...
Yeah, it's a Revenant, Birdman...
Yeah. Expansive daylight shots using natural light, and there was none of that in this.
Which was funny, actually, in the Q&A. They're like, you guys mostly filmed in LA. And he's like, no. We filmed in France. We filmed in... And then like Margot Robbie says later, like, oh, there's a whole scene we're in this hotel. That's actually in LA in a boat on LA. And it's like, that's kind of funny where the director's just like, we filmed all over the world. And then they're like, yeah, we filmed in this location. It's in LA. And we filmed in this location. It's in LA.
I think he was like trying to make a joke, but David O. Russell just like didn't land that. The whole interview was very funny, actually.
It was really awkward.
Yeah.
And also like Rami Malek didn't even really have a chance to speak at all. He just kind of like...
He kept getting corrected by either David O. Russell or Christian Bale. I think Christian Bale was correcting him in a few moments to try and like save him from accidentally saying something he shouldn't about David O. Russell.
Yeah, he was like, what do you think about the acting, right? Like the acting method kind of. Even you leaned over to me and was like, oh, he's notorious for being like a crazy person on set.
Yeah, he's like notorious for like throwing fits, throwing shit at actors, telling actors that they should like kill themselves, and notoriously very sexist, which I think you kind of get that from the movie, actually. This movie hates quite a few women.
Yeah.
Like some of the most vile characters in this movie are like women who have like, they're vile for no other reason than to be vile. They don't have any vileness that is relevant to the plot. Christian Bale's character's wife.
Yeah, what a weird character.
Yeah, she's just repugnant for no reason.
Like whole meaning is, our whole like character is just there to be like an antagonist to Christian Bale. and to just
yeah.
like have some kind of, oh, he's gonna switch in the end kind of thing, which is kind of weird. And also I hate how it spends so long on just like building up these little things, and then all the important stuff they're just like, oh, we're gonna just explain it in dialogue in like VO or something.
In the most mundane way.
And it's like, oh, everything was solved. This happened. It's like, why? What's the point of this movie if you're gonna just like show us a few character scenes and then just explain the main plot? For a murder mystery, there's no mystery of the murder. It's just like VO of Christian Bale explaining everything post the fact.
Well, we don't even care about the mystery. The mystery is less interesting than the like drama between the trio, basically.
Yeah.
That's clearly what David O. Russell wanted to focus on. I think, I don't even know, like, and that felt so like stilted and like heteronormative in the most annoying way. In an earlier draft of this, I kind of wonder if they were like a throuple.
That would make more sense.
Right? It's so weird. It's just like,
yeah,
they just decide that Christian Bale's the like third wheel, but he's very happy about it.
Yeah, and also like the whole bond didn't really make sense, because also like at the beginning, Christian Bale and John David Washington make a pact, but it's more of like
and they're also very fucking queer. Like Christian Bale's character and
John David
Washington's character are like very queer coded in a lot of different little ways.
I guess, yeah. John David Washington kept trying to get Christian Bale to leave his wife, so, you know.
And they like have these like moments where they're like singing together and like leaning on each other romantically. It's like, I don't know if they decided they didn't want to go that way, but they still kind of wanted to hit at it.
Maybe that's what Christian Bale meant by there was earlier drafts that he was kind of picking up on in later versions. Like he was still keeping it a little bit subtext wise.
Right. I actually think that might have been a reason for why this movie felt so structurally bad, is that they had so much left in those original drafts that they kept in the story but couldn't show us because they didn't have time.
Yeah. And that's saying something. They didn't have time in an already super long, drawn out, like 2.5 hour film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was terrible. I'd say let's just get it over with. Let's do the opposite of Amsterdam, wrap up, and call it a day.
Madridsma. That's the opposite of Amsterdam.
Madridsma?
Yeah.
Yeah. AM.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. AMP Amsterdam. All right. So I feel actually I'm kind of curious what your ranking is though. I know it's not good, so I'm thinking it's either Raisinettes or Hotdog. Where is it lie between there? And actually, it's kind of funny. I'll say one thing before I'll give my ranking, is that I think recently this show has changed how I watch movies.
Interesting.
Because
I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, then talking about this film?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think now I start a movie and I have like in my mind the 4 concession items.
Really?
And I'm like, it slowly like changes. Like, oh, this is a hot dog. Oh, it's a peanut M&Ms. Oh, it's popcorn. And then it like, as the movie progresses, it kind of like it would change around.
Interesting.
This film has been like on the precipice of like hot dog and popcorn for a little bit. And I think as it got more, it kind of was like, this is like a hot dog film. And then it kind of, by the end, it was like, oh, like, is this a hot dog or a raisinette? I think I'm going to give it a hot dog, but it's like a cold hot dog.
Got it. I think it started for me at a hot dog at the very beginning because of how weird the dialogue was and how unnatural it all felt.
Mm-hmm.
And not in like a Wes Anderson way where it's like interesting and stylized, in like a way that it's just trying to be weird. It's forced and it's hard to follow even, and there's exposition like nobody's fucking business.
Yeah.
It's so boring, this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think I started at a hot dog and then it slowly got worse and worse, and then there were just like little moments that were just like absolute raisins. Like a few times I saw like actors who were clearly like they flubbed the line that they had said, but they kept that take in. And I don't know why the fuck they did that. Like, did they not have the time to reshoot it? Did they decide they wanted it be that way?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, for what fucking reason? This movie for me is a hot dog where the bun is made of raisins.
Ew. I don't know if that's worse than a raisinette or what. But
it's just unsatisfying, and I don't know why it exists.
Yeah, true.
It's a monstrosity.
I think, though,
It's
the
a
reason
crime
why
against film.
it never kind of went to Raisinettes for me is that even though, for what you said, that's true, but I think there was like this little pockets of like a little bit fun performances from some of the characters. And I think that like just that alone barely kept it a hot dog film for me. But yes, I completely agree with you. Overall, terrible film. I think it's honestly, I felt like more of like a writing, directing kind of thing that kind of was the downfall of this.
I think if it was all David O. Russell was the downfall of this.
I think if it was written better, directed better, then you had the star power. It just needed a stronger story and a stronger direction.
I honestly don't think the story was even the issue, like the concept of the story.
Yes.
I think the concept is fine, actually could be very interesting. It just feels utterly unexplored.
It was like
and juvenile.
I feel like for me, I always feel like a good idea is easy to make, but it's hard to execute that good idea.
100%.
So I think this was a good idea, but it was not executed well.
Yeah, utterly frustrating and disappointing.
Yeah, well, so this is one of the longest movies I think we've reviewed so far. This is our shortest recording, which is showing you that how overly long this is, that we want to just get this done.
So bye.
So we'll see you next week for the next episode. We have to run. All right, till next time. Bye.
Toodaloo.
Thank you for listening to Concession Impressions. The show is hosted and produced by Charles Helbeck and myself, Michelangelo White. Music in the episode was created by Joe Part. The show logo and editing was done by the remarkable Yumi White. Let us know your concession impression on Twitter or on Instagram at Film Cookbook. Yeah, that's all for this week, and it's a short and simple one this week. See you next time. Hope everyone has a great week. Bye.